Hey everyone, happy Thursday. Today we are going to be winterizing the fall garden to get it through the frost. I am Libby, I am 26. I'm also 35 weeks pregnant today and expecting this little one in December. I'm a soon-to-be mama who does things the natural way and have a big garden and my own chicken. So if you're into that, hit that subscribe button down below. Today we are going to be winterizing the garden using a few simple products from Amazon that I highly recommend, and we'll stick the links down below in the description. So it's really pretty simple. You need some sort of stick to hold up your frost cover, and I use Agribon 19 cover, and I live in South Carolina zone 8. So if you live in a place where it's really just gonna frost at night, not for like super extended long periods of time, and you're not gonna get a ton of snow, this is a really great option for you because it gives a nice protective cover. It's still relatively cheap and lets a good amount of light in. It worked really well last winter. These sticks I also got on Amazon, and they're a really good, nice, cheap option. And I'm going to use those to cover up my raised beds and part of my row garden down at the end.
All right, so let's go into the time-lapse portion. The one thing I forgot to mention is that you need something to hold down your cloth with. I just used some stones that I found in my compost mix, but you can use really anything that you have that's heavy and weighted that can hold down your frost cover fabric. And the process for this is really simple. Basically, you want to make sure like all your plants are trimmed down so they're going to fit underneath the bars, and then you put the bars in and they're really nice and pliable, so you can just bend them over and make that U shape, and then you're going to put on your Agribon cover and then weigh it down. I did have an arch trellis in here in these two beds, as you can see, and so first thing we had to do was kind of clean off all the plants off of this cattle panel here. I'm just unwinding the beans and getting everything off, and then William snapped all of our ties that we had, and then we just kind of pulled up one side and then pulled off the other. Kind of got a little stuck there, but it was pretty easy to get off, and we just have them hanging on our fence over here, and we just hung it back up, and then William pulled out the T-post while I got the next bed ready. And here I had some peppers that I had to really trim up, and I harvested some of the peppers, you'll see as well, but I had to trim all that up so that everything would fit underneath the frost cover. And I'm hoping maybe some of these will come back. I know that is a thing that can happen. I haven't had any success with that so far, but I've trimmed these up pretty good, and they'll be under the frost cover for the whole winter, so we'll see what that does. And I just harvested every single pepper that I could find, and just going to save all of those, chop them up and put them in freezer bags and stick them in my freezer. Yeah, so then after we've got everything trimmed up, we just kept repeating the process of putting in the 3 stakes, and then putting on a frost cover and then weighing it down. It's really pretty simple. This whole process took us an hour. Of course, we did already have the covers cut. Here's everything that I harvested: eggplants, peppers, and some lettuce. That made it a lot easier this year. So when you're doing it for your first year, you're going to have to cut the frost covers to length. I have 10-foot size beds. If you're interested in how I built these beds, I have another video that I will link up here in the top right. You can check that out about how to make these beds. They're really simple. But yeah, so now that we actually already have these cut to size, that makes this process a lot easier. And that was the last bed here. And then for the long rows, I literally just laid it out on top, didn't even put any hoops, because what's underneath there is collards, and they're actually pretty frost tolerant, so they'll be totally fine in this section. And we weighed that down with some horseshoes and bocce balls. I also planted some garlic in underneath here that I had planted somewhere else, but that I didn't get to cover, so I just moved the cloves over to this area that would be covered, and they smelled really good. And this is another section where I had garlic planted, and so I'm covering it up with pine straw here.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that time lapse of us winterizing the garden. We got every bed covered as well as one row, and then I ran out of frost cover, so I'll be ordering some more on Amazon for the future. But I wanted to quickly show you right here. I harvested the rest of the peppers and eggplants because those are like probably not going to make it through the frost. I also cut off any branches that were hanging out over the edges where we weren't going to be able to cover, and just trimmed everything back and put all the branches into my compost. And so we got lots of good bell peppers. Unfortunately, my Lilo purples never turned purple. I did start to get a little bit of red on this one, but it was the only one that ever changed color. And then I got just a couple last eggplants here, and then a couple greens I went ahead and harvested for our salad for dinner tonight. So we got the last of the summer veggies. We're ready for winter, so let's take a look. As you can see, for all these beds, we just put 3 of the posts between them to hold up the frost cover, and then weighted it down with some rocks and some pieces of wood that we have over on our wood rack, and did that for all 6 of the beds here. On these 2, we took off the trellis and hung up the cattle panel back up on the fence over there, as well as William pulled out the T-posts, which was very, very helpful. And then on this row right here, I just put the frost cover right on top of the collards. Really, collard greens are gonna be okay through a frost. Ooh, hawk. Yeah, that's why the chickens are in their run all the time. So anyway, so I just covered this up with the cloth just right on top and weighted it down with horseshoes and bocce balls. So this is a very fun row cover right here. I also moved some of our garlic that I had planted in some grow bags. I was a little worried about those getting a little too cold, so I planted them into this row, and we'll see how those do. And then over on this side, unfortunately, we are going to be losing our zinnias. Nothing we can really do about it, but let's get one last good look at these. There really were a lot of beautiful colors, lots of reds and pinks in this like later fall zinnia run. So that was really fun to plant and have this year. Over here in this section, I had planted Nala. Bad dog. Over here, I had planted a bunch of garlic, and you're really supposed to use straw to cover them up. Didn't have straw, so we put pine straw down, and we're just gonna see how that does this year. I will report back on how these garlics make it through the winter, but so we'll see if that is a good frost protection for them. And then I've also got some under the frost cover, which I'm pretty sure are definitely gonna make it. I've also got a couple potatoes and cabbages back here, but I have tons of potatoes still, so I'm not really worried if I do lose some of these, so they'll also just be a little bit of an experiment. Baby Flanagan and I are doing really well. The only real update is I'm kind of starting to get to the point where I get out of breath really quickly, which maybe you could tell while I was talking. My back hurts a good bit more. I'm not quite able to do everything as quickly as I used to be able to do it, which has just started happening now in this 34th week. So I'm pretty grateful that I still had a pretty long time where I was feeling comfortable and had a lot of mobility and stuff. So we have lots of doctor's appointments and due date on the horizon, so make sure you're following and subscribed, and I'll see you guys back here next week. Bye.